not too late. It's me, the White Rabbit. I'm here to read for everyone for the Word Book Day. I want to read you a very special part of the Alice's Adventure in Wonderland book. That's the part that one of the parts I'm here. Oh, I'm almost like a protagonist of it, aside Alice. I don't know why they don't call this the White Rabbit's Adventure in Wonderland. Anyway, but it's for I'm not late. Oh, not late. All right, I still have time. Anyway, I read for you the chapter that is called "The Rabbit Sends a Little Bill." Oh, what happened until now? Oh, that pesky girl, Alice, saw me doing my run when I said that I was really late. Oh, I was really late for something important. You discover now. Oh, and she got and tried to catch me. I drove in my habit road, and she tried to go around. She tried to catch me. She drove in the habit hole also and found lots of things words in Wonderland. Oh, before we start, she was in the caucus race, and she started to talk with all the animals that was in the caucus race. And then she talked about that monster she called the vet, that kind of monster. Oh, everyone else had gone around and was crying and was very scared. Oh, believe me. Do you need to know? Alice, you are a bad girl. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I need to read. Oh, Alice lost my coffee for a chant, but she lent me the book device thing. I believe that she lent it in fact for the Mad Hatter, but the Mad Hatter lent me. Oh, here is. Okay. It's here. Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Lewis Carrol. It's a very nice book. Anyway, let's start. No. Oh, just a minute. Oh, gosh. Okay. Chapter 4. The Rabbit Sends It a Little Bill. It was the White Rabbit, trotting slowly back again, and looking anxiously about it as it went, as if it was lost of something. And she heard it muttering to itself, "Oh, the Duchess! Oh, my dear paws! Oh, my fur whiskers! She'll get me executed, as sure as far to the ferrets! Where can I jump then, I suppose?" Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good naturally began hunting about for them. But they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swing in the pool and the great hall, with the glass table and the little jar, had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about and called out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan! Quick, now!" Oh, believe me, it's so hard to find a good servant like Marianne on those times. Anyway, and Alice was so frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake it had. "She took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am! But I'd better take his fan and gloves, that is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name David Rabbit engraved upon it. It was my house, if anyone else didn't understand. But it's Wellington Rabbit, not White Rabbit. Anyway, she went in without knocking and hurried upstairs. in great fear lest she should meet the real Marianne, and and be turned out to the house before she had found the fan and gloves. How could it Alice said to herself, to be calling messages for a rabbit? I suppose Dinah will be sending me a message next. And she began fancying the sort of things that would happen. Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse. But I've got to see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think, Alice went on, that they'll let Dinah stop in the house if it began ordering people around like that. By the time she had found her way into a tight little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny little kid gloves. Those gloves, to be fair. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves, and she was going to leave the room when her eyes fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless, she uncorked it and put it on her lips. I know something interesting is sure to happen, she said to herself. Whether I drink or whatever I eat or drink anything. So I will just see what this bottle does. I do hope it will make me grow large again. And for really, I'm quite tired of being such a tiny little thing. Oh. Remember, kids, it's a very, very bad thing to take drinks from other houses and just open and drink them. Besides, bad things can happen with you. As we say, it did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half of the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily pushed down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out at the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite so much. Alas, it was too late to wish that." She waited on growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even the room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door and other arm curled around her head. She went on growing, and as a last resort, she put one arm out of the window and on foot up the chimney, and said to herself, "Now I can't do no more. Whatever happens, what will become of me?" This is what happened to Alice. Can you see? This is what happened when you go for a room for someone else's home and just take and drink something that is not yours, at least not without permission. Anyway, get back. Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought for Alice, when one wasn't always growing large and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole, and yet, it's rather curious, this sort of life. I do wonder what can have happened to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of things never happened, and now here I am in the middle of one. Fairy tale, oh, she say, fairy tale, it's my life! Oh, Oh, anyway, get back. She's a fast girl. Oh, there ought to be a group of book written about me that there was. And when I grow up, I will one. But I'm grown up now, she said with a sorrowful tone. At least there's no room to grow up anymore here. But then, thought Alice, shall I never get any older than I am now? That would be a comfort, one way, never to be an old woman, but then always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books. And so she went on, taking one side and then the other, and making quite a conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. Marianne! Marianne! Said the voice. Fetch me my gloves at this moment! Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Like that. Remember? Alice knew that it was the rabbit coming out to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 100 times as large as the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of. Presently, the rabbit, also known as me, came up to the door and tried to open it. But as the door opened the door and Alice elbow was pressed hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, then you go round and get in under the window. That you won, thought Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she heard the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little shriek and a fall, and a crash of broken window, of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it has fallen into a cucumber frame or something like of the sort. What a savage! Oh, it hurted a lot. She took me and whoop, and plopped, and oh, I crashed against my little cucumber frame, and all my cucumbers had been crashed, and I lost everything. Oh, what a savage, that girl! Oh, anyway, get back. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit. That! Where are you? And then a voice she had never heard before. Sure, then I hear, digging for apples, Your Honor. Digging for apples, indeed, said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me out of this. Sounds of more broken glass. Oh, this is exactly what she did for me. She cut me, she told me, and made me crash against my cucumber against my cucumber frame. Oh, but it's not the last of everything of this. Oh, believe me, she's a savage. I would say. Now tell me, Fat, what's that in the window? Sure is a nerve, Your Honor. He pronounced it error. As I said, how difficult to find some nice, good workers on those days. Anyway, an arm, you goose! Whoever saw on this size? Why, it fills the whole window. Sure it does, Your Honor, but it's an arm for all that. Well, it's got no business here. At any rate, go and take it away. There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then. Sure, I don't like it, Your Honor, at all, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward! And at last, she out, spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. That this time there's two little shakes and more sound of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they will do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. I also didn't wanted her in my house, and she told me again against my cucumber friends. Oh, and this time it was all the carrots. Oh, my dear, what a savage. Oh, anyway, this is a very bad story for me to say, but I believe that is educational for everyone. Anyway, let's get back. She waited for some time without hearing anything more. At last came a rumble of little cartwheels and the sound of a good many voices all talking together. She made out of the words, "Where's the other ladder? Why, I had to bring the one. Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. Here, but then up in this corner. No, tie them together first. They won't reach half high enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular. Will, catch hold of this hole. Will the hope bear? Mind the loose slate. Oh, it's going down. Hello. A loud crash. And there goes part of my sailing. There goes part of my hoof. Oh, what a... Say about money that you can lose because of pesky little girl. Anyway. Now, who did that? It was you, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Nay, I shan't. You did it. That I won't then. Bill's to go down. Here, Bill, the master says you're to go down the chimney. Oh, so Bill got to come down the chimney, has he? Said Alice to herself. Shy, they seem to put everything upon Bill. I want to be in Bill's place for a good deal. The fireplace is narrow to be sure, but I think I can kick a little. She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could and waited till she heard a little animal, she couldn't guess what sort of it, scratching and scrambling about the chimney close about her. Then, saying to herself, "This is Bill." She gave a sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. What happened next? This happened next. She kicked poor Bill like it was a rug ball to be shot against the head to score some conversion points. Oh, what a savage is Alice. Anyway, next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of, "There goes Bill." Then the rabbit voice along, "Catch him! You by the hedge." Then silence, and then another confusion of voices. Hold up his head, Randy, now. Don't choke him. How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us all about it. Last came a little Phil squeaking voice. "That's Phil?" thought Alice. "Well, I hardly know. No more, thank you. I'd rather not. I'm not here for this too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in a box, and up I goes like a skyrocket." "So you did, old fellow," say the others. "We must burn the house down," said the rabbit's voice, and Alice called out as she could, "If you do, I'll set Dinah after you." She sat Dinah. Oh, that basket girl sat Dinah. Oh, anyway. There was that silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they would take the hoof off. After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, "A barrel full will do to begin with." "A barrel full of what?" thought Alice. But she not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little pebbles came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "Oh, you put the stuff on it," she said to herself and shouted out. "You'd better not do this, not do that again," which produced an odd dead silence. Alice noticed that with some surprise that the pebbles were all turning into little cakes as they laid on the floor, and a bright idea came into his head. If I eat some of those cakes, she thought, I am sure to make some change in size, and as it can't possibly make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose. So she swallowed one of the cakes, and was delighted to think that she began shrinking directly. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. That poor little lizard Bill was in the middle, held up by 2 guinea pigs, who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at Alice at the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in the thick wood. "First thing I've got to do," said Alice to herself as she wandered about the wood, "is to grow to my right side again, and the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan." It sounded an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how to set about it. And while she was peering about anxiously among the trees, a little sharp bark just over her head made her look up in a great hurry. And a nervous puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes and few scratch out of one paw, trying to tell her, "Poor little thing," said Alice in a coaxing tone, as she tried hard to whistle to her. But she was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, in which case it would be very likely to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. This little puppy here, this is a very big guy to accept those savage. Hardly knowing what she did, she sticked up a little bit of stick and held it out to the puppy, whereupon the puppy jumped into the air off its feet at once with a yelp of delight, and rushed at the stick and made believe to worry it. Then Alice dodged behind a great thistle to keep herself from being run over. At the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick and tumbled her head over heels in its hurry to get hold of it. Then Alice think it was very like having a game of play with a cart horse, and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, ran round the thistle again. Then the puppy began a series of short charges at the stick, running at every way forward each time and a long way back, and barking hoarsely all the while, till at last it sat down a good way off, panting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth and its great eyes half shut. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape. So she set off at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy bark sounded quite faint in the distance. "And yet what a dear little puppy it was," said Alice, and she leaned against a buttercup to rest herself and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "I should have liked teaching it tricks very much if I'd only be in the right side to do it. Oh dear, I nearly forgot that I got to grown up again. Let me see. How is this? How is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other. But the greater question is what? The great question certainly was what? Alice looked all around her at the flowers and the blades of grass, and she did not see anything that looked like the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstances. There was a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself, and when she looked under it, and both sides of it and behind it, it occurred to her that she might as well look and see what was on top of it. She stretched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom, and her eyes immediately met those of a large caterpillar that was sitting on the top of it, with its arms folded, quietly smoking on a long hookah, and talking and taking not the smallest notice of her or of anything else. What happening now? You need to read Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's a very cheap and easy to find book. Even in the internet, you can download this freely in many sites. Oh, you have a very, very special workbook day. It's a very important date to be, and I was lucky to be not too late for it, like I'm now. I need to find the Queen of Hearts, and if I don't find her, I will be executed as sure as ferrets. Oh, anyway, I need to go now. I'm late for a very important thing. Good time saying hello, goodbye. I'm late.